My name is Abby. I'm 35, a mother of twins, and married to Kevin, a reliable man who has always been a source of support. At least that's how I saw him at the start of our journey. But life has a strange way of testing you, doesn't it? This story isn't about a typical happy family. It's about the twists and turns, the battles fought behind closed doors, and the small victories that can feel like survival itself. It began with my mother-in-law, a force of nature who inserted herself into our lives, uninvited. I had just given birth to our twins and was navigating the chaotic world of sleepless nights, endless diapers, and learning how to be a mother. Kevin was on a month-long business trip when the nightmare truly started. One morning, as I tried to calm one crying baby while feeding the other, the doorbell rang. It was her. "I'm coming in," she said, holding up bags of food she had brought with her. Without waiting for a response, she pushed past me, surveying the living room with a critical eye. "What a mess. You should keep the house more presentable," she said, her voice dripping with judgment. I was too exhausted to argue. The twins were wailing, and the house, admittedly, wasn't in its best state. But who could blame me? My hands were full with 2 infants. My mother-in-law, however, seemed to take my weariness as an invitation to stay longer. She opened the fridge, checked expiration dates, and even commented on the brands of baby formula I was using. Her visits became a daily occurrence. Despite my polite attempts to ask for space, she dismissed me with a smile and a wave of her hand. "I'm here to help," she'd say, though her version of help usually meant picking up the babies, even when they were sound asleep, and leaving me to clean up the chaos she created. She'd scatter her snacks on the floor and then complain that the house wasn't clean enough. By the end of the second week, I was mentally and physically drained. I confided in Kevin over the phone, hoping he'd intervene. His advice was simple: pretend you're not home. And so, I did. For 2 days, I ignored the doorbell, the knocking, and even her calls. It worked, until the 3rd day. I returned from a grocery run, relieved to have a few hours of peace. But as I opened the door, I heard the TV blaring. My heart sank. Was Kevin home early? Or worse, had someone broken in? Steeling myself, I stepped inside, only to find my mother-in-law sitting on the couch, eating snacks she'd brought with her. "I've been waiting for you," she said with a smug smile. My blood ran cold. How had she gotten in? Then it hit me. The spare key. She must have taken it during one of her earlier visits. "I'm here because you've been avoiding me." "That's not very nice," she said, as if her actions were justified. The house was a disaster. Clothes were pulled from the dresser, the trash can had been tipped over, and an unbearable smell filled the air. I stared in disbelief, realizing she had intentionally made the mess. "It seems you can't manage without me," she said, feigning concern. My frustration boiled over. "Give me the spare key," I demanded. "You have no right to use it without permission." Her response was chilling. "I'm not returning it. You're just an ungrateful daughter-in-law who can't handle simple housework." She threw the remote control at me, her voice rising in anger. "You'll never surpass me, and if you're not careful, I might just do something about those kids of yours." Her words struck a nerve. I'd had enough. When Kevin finally returned from his trip, I told him everything. He was furious. "We'll change the locks," he said firmly. "She won't have access anymore." The next day, Kevin called his mother over. She arrived expecting a warm welcome, but was met with his stern expression. "Mom, you've crossed the line," he said. "Taking the spare key, entering our home without permission, and disrespecting Abby is unacceptable." She tried to deny everything, claiming she was only helping. But Kevin didn't waver. "If this continues, we'll have no choice but to take legal action. You can't treat our home like your own." His words left her speechless. For the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. The locks were changed and peace returned to our home, or so I thought. Weeks later, my mother-in-law began causing trouble for Kevin's cousin, showing up uninvited at her house. The cousin eventually moved to escape her, cutting all ties. It seemed my mother-in-law had lost everyone she could rely on. With Kevin's work schedule easing, he spent more time at home, helping with the twins. Life slowly returned to normal. The children grew, their bond as twins becoming a source of joy and fascination. Though they were different in many ways, they shared a unique connection that only twins could understand. Yet, every now and then, I'd catch myself glancing at the front door, half expecting her to return. The memory of her intrusion lingered, a reminder of the battles we'd faced to protect our family. But those moments of fear were fleeting, overshadowed by the happiness we'd fought so hard to reclaim. One evening, as Kevin and I sat watching the twins play, we started talking about the future. "Do you think she'll ever come back?" I asked. Kevin hesitated before answering. "I don't think so, but we'll be ready if she does." His confidence reassured me, but a small part of me still wondered if the peace we had found would last. Months passed and life settled into a comfortable rhythm. The twins started school, their personalities shining through in different ways. My son was thoughtful and curious, often lost in books or building intricate structures with his toys. My daughter, on the other hand, was lively and adventurous, always eager to explore and make new friends. Watching them grow was a constant reminder of how far we had come as a family. But just as we began to relax, an unexpected letter arrived in the mail. It was from my mother-in-law. Kevin opened it, his expression unreadable as he scanned the handwritten note. "What does it say?" I asked, my heart pounding. "She wants to meet," Kevin replied. "She says she's sorry for everything and wants to make amends." I didn't know what to think. Could we trust her? Was this a genuine attempt to reconcile, or was it another ploy to insert herself back into our lives? After much deliberation, we decided to meet her in a public place. The tension was palpable as we arrived at the cafe. She was already there, looking older and more frail than I remembered. When she saw us, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry for everything," she said, her voice trembling. "I know I was wrong, and I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my behavior." Kevin and I exchanged a glance, unsure of how to respond. Her apology seemed sincere, but the scars of the past were still fresh. "Why now?" Kevin asked. "What's changed?" She explained that she had been diagnosed with a serious illness and wanted to make amends before it was too late. Her words struck a chord, and despite everything, a part of me felt compassion for her. We agreed to let her visit the children under strict conditions, hoping to rebuild some semblance of a relationship. The visits started slowly, with her coming over once a week. To my surprise, she was different. She respected our boundaries, didn't criticize, and genuinely seemed to enjoy spending time with the twins. Over time, I began to let my guard down, though I remained cautious. One afternoon, as I watched her play with the children, I realized that people could change. It wasn't easy to forgive her, but holding on to resentment wouldn't help anyone. For the sake of our family, I chose to let go of the past and focus on the present. Looking back, the journey with my mother-in-law was one of the most challenging experiences of my life. It tested my patience, my strength, and my ability to forgive. But it also taught me the importance of standing up for myself and protecting the ones I love. And in the end, it brought our family closer together, proving that even the most difficult relationships can find a path to healing.